welcome to the Bearhug Club, a pro wrestling podcast of positivity.
Hello, everybody. It's Wednesday. It's 6:30 p.m. GMT, which means it's time for Wednesday Night Paw. Greg here once again, and I'm joined by Garrod. How's it going, my friend?
It's going pretty well, my friend. Pretty good. It's Wednesday. It's night. It's Paw. It's raining. It's pouring. The old man. Dead. COVID.
I've missed you, man. So this week we're kind of going straight into it. So we're covering Black Wednesday 3, I guess you would want to call it. So literally as we went live, just before we went live last week, WWE was getting the axe out again and doing another round of cuts, but with some quite surprising names. So it's quite fitting it's just you this week because I already got Scott and Jace's thoughts. But what was your kind of gut reaction when you first saw them?
I wasn't surprised. I was surprised on a couple names. I wasn't surprised on most of them. I think one of them is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard them doing. But no, if they've got an investors meeting, they want to raise their bottom line, even though they've got record profits. Nothing new, nothing shocking, just capitalism working, I guess, apparently. Kill me.
Yeah, I mean, this is capitalism at play. What we're going to do what we did last time when there was a round of cuts. We're going to go for each of the names, give like a rundown of what they did in their run with WWE, like ask if they did well, did they deserve better, and we'll obviously cast an eye at where we would kind of like to see them go next. But before we kind of go into it, I want your opinion on this. So a lot of the rumor mill is that they seem to think all these cuts, because they've done way more than they did last year, is that WWE are looking to sell. What is your thought on that?
Well, it's difficult when you talk about wrestlers and promoters, bookers, people that run companies like that, and you try and get their intentions. With a lot of the wrestlers that we're going to talk about now, for example, the one just up there, he has a passion for the business, right? And he's expressed so. Some of them, I don't know if they do. They didn't come from a wrestling background. They were just kind of, this was a job to them, possibly. And the same could be true with someone like Vince now, We saw that he, throughout his career, his ownership of the WWE and WWF, he's tried to make it a bodybuilding thing. He's tried to make it a boxing thing. He's started the XFL. He started the XFL again. Perhaps he might be done. It could be someone sinking the ship before they get off. I don't think it's that, really. But it's, I don't know, possibly keep him in just I feel like even if he did sell, he would still be on as a creative. I don't think he would give up control.
That's what I said, because given when you look at the history, obviously WWE's this big company, it's got board of directors, but when you actually look into it, Vince is very clever with who he gives control and what percentage. So even though he only owns, last time I heard, it was a while ago, he only had 49% of the shares. When you look at everyone else, they've got like maybe a 1 share or like a half a share. It's not, it's divvied out, so regardless, he is still in control. And I think even if he did sell off the company, he would want some kind of, like you say, a control within that, so he's not completely letting go of his baby.
The thing is, as well, is whoever they sell to, it being corporate America, would want him there as well. It's like it's a Steve Jobs, Elon Musk type situation where they want to, if that person were to go, regardless of if they actually have any say on anything, they are the face and the front man and the person that they've historically the company has been doing well under. So yeah, they'd want to keep him around. I doubt he'd want to go anywhere. I am sure they've had talks with NBC or whoever. And they're still doing like relatively fine on the ratings. All ratings are going down in TV world.
That's like everything across the board. So
yeah,
that's why I always get like a bit annoyed that a lot of shows and dirt sheet and YouTube stuff always hang on the ratings being bigger than, like, still being the benchmark for success when really it's not anymore.
I think ratings, the demographic matters more than the rating, right?
Yeah.
AEW at this point, AEW at this point practically is worth just as much as the WWE in terms of demographic, because they have a better demographic of people that are actually buying merchandise and advertisements that are on TV.
Yeah.
But the WWE have such a wide reach brand name, merchandise, everything globally, that doesn't really matter to them anymore. Which is why, I mean, how much did it cost to is there some drilling going on in the background?
Yeah, I was wondering if you made that out. The landlord is here doing a bit of work on the place, so I was wondering if it would pick up. Hopefully it's not going to be too loud. Hopefully.
Hold on, I have to slide my cake sideways to get through the door. Cheers. Have some cake.
Sweet.
What were we saying?
The people wanting to buy WWE, Vince still being in control. Yeah.
What matters a lot is how much content you have, the backlog catalog that you've got, how much you can keep pumping out and just keep eyeballs on things. And where people are making money now is in streaming, where there isn't advertisements or anything, you know. WWE can almost skirt that line as well, because not only can their talent be used in other advertising pretty effectively, you can advertise during pay-per-views. You can buy, you buy matches, right? Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead, that bought a match and had zombies in the match. Snickers has basically sponsored entire years worth of matches at this point.
Yeah.
Cricket Wireless, Final Fantasy, Gears of War, they've all sponsored matches and they've probably paid a pretty penny for it. And it's probably worked out. Like, I bet the demographic crosses over pretty heavily.
Yeah. Especially something like video games, like, for sure. I think there's a big correlation between the two video games and wrestling fans, for sure.
So I can totally see how, you know, like, people would want this product for their service. I mean, it's already on Peacock. It's not live on Peacock. They just have the network, right? But they've got the pay-per-views.
I think it still it works similar how it does over here. Like, they've got those TV deals, so it has to go on USA first. Over here, it would have to be on Sky first, and then a week later, it'll be on the network. I think that's probably how it works. That's how at least it works in the UK. Like, if it's on like at least a week or 2 week delay before it comes on the network over here for like Raw and SmackDown and now NXT.
Be interesting to see where it goes. I don't think television is dead or dying.
No. It's just changing, basically.
Right. I mean, if you, I can't remember who I told this to last. It might have even been on this podcast. I don't remember. Do you know the trend between the Oscars and the Game Awards?
No.
Trend. Yeah, like how the viewership is trending.
Okay, no.
So the Oscars back in, like let's say, I don't think the Game Awards have been going for 10 years, but equivalent like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
The Game Awards had like 1 million viewers. The Oscars had about like 70 plus million, you know, hundreds of millions really globally.
Yeah.
And as the years have gone on, it's traded massively, whereas the last Oscars had something like 9 million. The most recent Game Awards had like 80 million and going up. Like, it's only going to skyrocket more. And this is something that's on Twitch for free and YouTube and all these other streaming services. And advertisers are probably paying less to advertise directly to gamers than Coca-Cola is to advertise to geriatric people on the Oscars. So yeah, things are but the Oscars aren't going anywhere. They're not gonna leave TV. Same as I doubt WWE or AEW or wrestling as a whole. These TV stations aren't going anywhere. They still got spaces to fill. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see a tandem, like it's live online and on TV.
Well, I mean, AEW's sort of doing that already with the fact that you've got Dark and Elevation on YouTube, but then obviously Dynamite and I guess this new Rampage show will be strictly on TV. So there is already a match there. And like a lot of wrestling companies are already using, I think, Ring of Honor regularly like shows their stuff on Twitch as well. So there are like a lot of companies that are already kind of crossing both paths where you'll have the TV deal, but then they'll also have their online content, I suppose you would call it.
I mean, we look at WWE's forays into that space already. Mixed Match Challenge was streamed live on Facebook Watch Now, Facebook Go, whatever the fuck they were trying to make when they were trying to make Facebook a new Vimeo or whatever. Now there's Facebook Gaming as well. I don't know. Facebook Gaming bought Mixer. Do you know Mixer?
No, I do not remember Mixer.
So before I started streaming on here, I was streaming on Mixer because I was like, this is the future. This is the future. There was Mixer was Microsoft's go at online streaming, and it was pretty good. Like, it worked really, really well. There was lots of easy streaming tools and things like that. And there were one of the best features was like, you know, when chat pops up, obviously.
Yeah.
The latency between chat popping up is instantaneous. Someone would type a message, hit enter, and it's there. So it was like instant reactions. Facebook buying that's pretty interesting. I would love a WWE. Granted, I've actually never watched a wrestling show with a chat open. I think it'd be very interesting to watch a WWE pay-per-view and just, you know, The Undertaker pops up and then everyone's like, oh, Pogs and chat.
Yeah.
Like a Pepe the Frog, but it's The Undertaker with his eyes rolled back or something. All right, well, I guess that's going to have to be the Bearhug Club's first emote.
Get on it, man.
I could do that.
You could do that.
It's interesting to see where it goes, but back to the main point. I don't know if he'd even want to give it to anyone else other than sell it, you know? I don't know if he'd want to hand it down to Steph
or Trips,
and Hunter.
Shane, yeah.
Or if he'd just want to sell it and have them as creatives.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to wonder what if that is the case, you've got to wonder what they must be thinking, because, I mean, they were obviously the ones who were meant to be taking the throne off him, and then now he's like, no, I want to sell it on, give it to someone else. Give it to Disney Plus, put it on there.
It's really not out of the realms of possibility at all.
It's not. I mean, we said last week Disney Plus would be, I like, because when we announced this before we recorded last week, I did have a lot of comments from people saying a lot of people are obviously really against the idea of them selling to the big soulless corporation, even though they are the big soulless corporation. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, well, lesser of the two evils, I'd much prefer to see it on something like Disney Plus, where they've got a track record of taking brands and at least keeping them as separate brands. Like, fair enough, you go on Disney Plus, you see Marvel, but it's Marvel Studios. It's not Marvel Studios with the castle appearing before Avengers. You know what I mean? They've got a track record of having sport brands. They own ESPN, and I guess technically, I don't know if they own the Fox one now, but they own sports brands, so they at least know what to do with it.
It'd be very interesting where other companies see that. You look at AEW moving from TNT to TBS. TNT was the sport one. TBS is where you have things like Conan, and you've got comedy things and dramas and whatnot. I think. I don't know if there's too much dramas on there. Hello, Hummus. How you doing? But with that, then where do you think, I think Disney would put WWE into their star thing, the more adult orientated Fox programming.
I don't know. I could see. I mean, just legally, I could see it getting the next banner on the home screen.
Just the big W on it.
Yeah, just the big W appears there, and then
WWE Walt E. There you go.
Because you got to think, if they did that, I mean, that is a ridiculous library of the bank. It's obviously not just WWE's. They're getting the WCW, the ECW, whatever company they bought and owned the tape library for, and they're all going to put it in one place. Yeah. At least then I'd only need one subscription, which is great.
Yeah.
That's one I can just get rid of off the list. That'd be great. Because I mean, the thing is, like, the big thing that people have been saying is that there's the reports coming out, WWE want to be like Marvel, whatever that means. And it's hard to kind of think what they want out of that.
All it means is he wants money.
Yeah,
that's all it means.
The merch, basically.
It's why there are a lot of
instead of the kid wearing
in production right now with massive names.
Yeah.
They've got the Hogan one with Hemsworth. They've got the Vince one with Bradley Cooper, and I'm sure there's a shit ton of other things. The way they act is that every movie that Cena or The Rock are in are WWE movies, or even Batista as well. I guess if you could class Army of the Dead as that. I'm sorry you're doing Mayor, my guy. Sorry, I don't know if our wrestling talk about business will get you too in the mood for, but
we'll
there
try
you
to
go.
bring the laughs,
But yeah, I can see what they want to do and Marvelify it.
I think basically when he says that, he wants, not that there are already kids doing this, but he wants the majority of kids to, instead of wear the Spider-Man shirt to school, they wear the Roman Reigns one. If they go to the toy store, instead of picking out the Spider-Man action figure, they're picking out the Roman Reigns one. Not that there aren't kids already doing that, but he would like the idea of a lot more kids doing that.
Right. Well, maybe under someone else's leadership, that could happen.
Hey, you never know.
We will see.
Anyway, back to the main thing we're going to do. Should we start running through these names, do a little back on them, say where we think they're going to go? Do you want me to take the wheel on the first one?
What are we doing it by your list, or are we just doing it pick and choose?
We could either do it in list order, which means obviously you can go first, or we could pick and choose. It's up to you.
Pick and choose. I could go with that one first. It's a fairly big one.
Should we get the big guy out the way first?
Yeah, all right. Let's get the big guy out the way first.
Well, obviously, we're talking about. I'd probably say the most shocking name that appeared on the list, which is, of course, Big Braun Strowman. So big, he's covering us up. This is the one I think was the most shocking to a lot of people, given he barely a month ago was fighting for the WWE Championship, and it seemed like he was, pretty prominent, still fairly big on the card. What were your thoughts when you saw his name pop up?
It doesn't make any sense to me.
I agree with that.
Braun Strowman was, at one point in time, not the hottest thing in wrestling, but he was the biggest big man in wrestling.
Yeah.
And he could have been a Lesnar level. He could have been practically your Andre or your Big Show or your Vader type, And for a while he kind of was, and he had some all right kind of things. What they've done is they've taken a dude who had no fucking interest in wrestling, and they were like, "You're fucking big, get in the ring." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And he went from just some fucking power lifter who, good at that, but like couldn't wrestle for shit, to someone who was actually pretty good, especially what he did. Like he got really good for wrestling as a big dude. He found his little niches and his really interesting moves and things that would pop the crowd as a face and things that would, really fuck you up as a monster heel. Had some really interesting moments. They gave him a lot of big men spots, flipped a fucking ambulance, a massive truck, all this kind of shit. And and then they just get rid of him.
Yeah.
I don't understand. He wasn't even on the kind of money you'd expect a Universal Champion to be on. I think it was around $1 million at that point when he signed his 5-year deal. But before that, he was not actually on too much. I think he got the title, and then they were like, all right, cool, let's give you the big
I was going to
bucks.
say, he only got the $1 million when he was finally in that picture, which was around, well, I think he signed that in 2019, and he didn't actually win the Universal title till 2020. So,
well, yeah, they were just like, well, we're paying for him, so we might as well make the most of it.
Yeah, exactly.
But, even before that, he was putting in the work. I think at one point he was on around 300K, which relatively, compared to people that aren't doing as much as him, wasn't too much, It's still a shit ton of money. Let's be real. But just talking as someone who is 5'7" on a good day, 5'5" if you don't like me. I don't need to eat a lot to keep up this muscle mass right here, Whereas Braun Strowman needs to eat a shit ton, He needs to work out. He needs to do a lot of work, and he did it. Like he was relatively kind of pudgy at one point. It's fair to say. Well, not really. He's still fucking jacked and huge.
Oh yeah,
but he got cut. He was like, he got absolutely stacked, and then tell him to piss off. I just don't understand this one of all of them very well. I can't imagine he was like asking for his release.
No, definitely not. I mean,
I wonder if he even knew it was coming.
Well, I mean, the reports that came out afterwards saying is that they said he had his peak 2 years ago, which was when they would have given this deal anyway. So I don't know how that makes sense, unless it was very just like, this is the one people point to when they say they could be possibly selling because it's $1 million that they can save, is what they're kind of pointing towards. But yeah, it's still shocking to me because I thought, like, again, he was just in the main event not long ago. He was still featured pretty prominently. He had a big match at Mania with Shane. Like, that was one of the few matches that had build surrounding it, and they did give some attention to. And like, he'd been the first one to come along in time. Like you're saying, he's the first big man giant that they've had since maybe Big Show to come along and actually do well at it. And he's had the best. When putting these notes together, I realized he's had the best career trajectory in WWE because he came in with no background, was green as hell, had those trousers on that made it look like he pissed himself all the time, and then got really good. Like, he got fan support behind him, and all they had to do was basically put him in squash matches and have him flip shit over, and it worked. And people fell in love with the big guy. Yeah,
I mean, he was really over for like when he was fighting Roman, when Roman wasn't a heel at that point, but he was over as fuck. And then he started doing a lot of face things. Like, he did this whole like thing where he ran around and he hit everyone around the ring. It's fucking great. Like, he got really, really fucking good at the role that he needed to play. And
I'm sorry, but hot take, I loved the thing with Nicholas. Fair enough. Like,
yeah, no, I think it was good.
As much as WWE ruins the tag division, and you could say that didn't help. For his character, it was the perfect thing. Like, he's a monster to adults, but he cares about the kids. It was such a good layer to his character.
It was one of the greatest face things. I'm not a child, but if I was one and I was like, as a kid, just won the tag team titles, I probably would have popped off, Yeah. And I think especially during that card, I think that was like the second to last main event. Perfectly placed.
Yeah.
Did a great job. Great feel good moment. Also, he squashed a. I like tag team wrestling. He did squash a tag team, but it was fine. And Cesaro and Sheamus, I think, were like nearing the end of their run at that point as tags. But yeah, no, I thought that was great. If we're going to go through everything bit by bit, he signed with WWE in 2013. He was sent directly to the Performance Center. He had no previous background in wrestling, as we were saying, but he was clearly brought in because he was a fucking monster bodybuilder. For the first 2 years of his career, he had sporadic appearances in NXT live events or dark matches for shows like Main Event. On August 24th, 2015, so 2 years later, he made his debut on the main roster, attacking Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose to align himself with the Wyatt family. He would be featured pretty prominently as the Wyatt's new muscle and WWE's newest monster. However, it was clear he was still very green. He also wore trousers that were piss pants. He wore piss pants.
Yeah.
He looked like he'd pissed himself, which is very cruel of the costume department.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. As part of the 2016 draft, Strowman would be sent to Raw, effectively ending his time in the Wyatts and beginning his run as a single star. They built him incredibly well by going back to the old school method of placing him in squash matches by having him beat local talent, most notably James Ellsworth, each week in a matter of seconds. Eventually, he would move on to a bigger name such as Sin Cara, Sami Zayn, and have micro feuds with them, always coming out on top in a dominant fashion. After a brief chase of the Universal title at the beginning of 2017, Braun would finally enter his feud of notice against Roman Reigns. Despite being the heel in the feud, support for Braun went through the roof, as this was still in the midst of the crowd rejecting Reigns. The feud was halted slightly when Strowman did receive an elbow injury, which put him on the sidelines for 2 months. However, when he returned in time for SummerSlam, where he would be featured in a fatal four-way for the Universal title. Strowman's popularity was ascending during this time, with a big reason for that being the ridiculous feats of strength WWE scripted for him to do. This included him flipping over several vehicles, including an ambulance, pulling down a whole piece of staging with a grappling hook. I forgot about that one. And making the entire ring collapse after suplexing the Big Show off the top of the rope. I think they always talk about moments. One of the biggest things they go on about is, WrestleMania moments. And that Nicholas thing was a WrestleMania moment. What Braun was able to do is do moments quite a lot of the time whenever you needed him to. Yeah.
Like, I think if you look back at his career, you won't remember a good match, but you'll remember, he did this and he did that, and it was really cool. Yeah, that's what you want.
Yeah. After failing to capture the Universal title at SummerSlam, Strowman had a brief return to his feud with Reigns, this time being involved with the Miz's crew to try and destroy the Reformed Shield. He took part in the 5-on-2 handicap match at TLC, in which Reigns was replaced by Kurt Angle due to illness. To round off this year, going into 2018, Strowman will be part of the Raw Survivor Series team and also had a brief feud with Kane. In the build to WrestleMania 34, Strowman won a Battle Royale, giving him a #1 contender shot at the tag titles, despite not having a partner. A lot of the mystery going into Mania was built around Strowman. Would he pick someone we knew as a partner, or would he go for a child in the audience? They would have to vacate the belts the next night on Raw due to Nicholas having to go to school. Looking back at it, I still think I do think that's great.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to vacate the belts. I remember the promo, and he's like, sorry, he's got to go to school. It's like, perfect.
Strowman would have continued momentum, though, next going on to win the greatest Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia. He also beat the record for most eliminations, gaining 13. Following this, he would then go on to win the Money in the Bank ladder match. Strowman would carry the briefcase all the way to Hell in a Cell that year, where he cashed in to fight Lesnar. He would fail to win. It ended in a no contest.
Yeah.
I always disagree with this kind of character having the well, I don't not disagree.
Well,
I thought it was weird for him to have the Money in the Bank. Then they give it to Lesnar as well, and later on, and it's I don't know. If I'm
right, thinking the reason why I added the no contest thing, I think this was when they had a string of Hell in the Cell matches that kept ending in no contest, and it's like it's Hell in the Cell. Like, it shouldn't end in a no contest. But I agree. Like, he was someone who never needed the Money in the Bank, and it was never. It was either a foregone conclusion he was going to win in dominant fashion, or you put him against Lesnar and he probably wasn't going to win. That's the thing.
For the rest of the year, it was during this time he entered a pretty forgettable feud against Baron Corbin, who had become the Raw GM at the time. I forgot about GM Corbin. As 2019 rolled on, Strowman would end up in a feud with Colin Jost and Michael Che. Yeah, I remember that. Of Saturday Night Live fame, which resulted in all three men being involved in the Andre the Giant Battle Royale that year, with Strowman winning. For the rest of the year, Strowman would still be featured pretty prominently, having feuds with the likes of Bobby Lashley and teaming with Seth Rollins to take on the OC. However, with most notable moment of the year came when he started a feud with boxer Tyson Fury. This resulted in the pair having a match at Crown Jewel, which Strowman lost by countout, but he did lay Fury out with a running power slam. Booked a bit weirdly, but
yeah. It was headline grabbing stuff, though. Like, it was everywhere. It's what WWE wanted, basically.
Well, to go from someone in 2013 who's never stepped in a ring to go to calling a match, most likely. I'm assuming he called that Fury match. Carrying it. I think that was the main event, wasn't it?
Oh
No, maybe not. It might not have been the main event. I think maybe that was a Taker thing.
Yeah, it'd have been up there, but I don't think it was.
Regardless, really high profile match to trust the dude to, not kill Tyson Fury on a botched slam or something.
Yeah.
Tremendous. So later on in 2020, Strowman achieved his biggest career win at WrestleMania 36. After COVID-19 hit and places went into lockdown, many wrestlers stopped working to protect their health. This resulted in the match of Roman Reigns versus Goldberg for the Universal title, having to be changed with Strowman being Reigns' replacement. He would beat Goldberg in pretty dominant fashion, becoming one of a few people to do so and gaining him the Universal title. That's another strange thing. Firing him after beating Goldberg.
Yeah, like literally a year later, firing him as well.
You don't get to, with a character like Goldberg, you don't get to beat Goldberg. It's like it's like having someone beat Taker at Mania. You don't get to do that with many people, and when you do, to get rid of them is a very strange thing.
Oh yeah, I agree.
He then would immediately feud with Fiend Bray Wyatt. The feud was built pretty well, drawing on their history in the Wyatt family, and then bringing in Alexa Bliss for Wyatt to use as Braun's affections for her after their time as partners in the Mixed Match Challenge, which was on Facebook. The end of the feud came with Strowman losing the belt to the Fiend at SummerSlam, ending his reign at 141 days. He failed to get the belt in a rematch, which was won by Roman Reigns. Following this, Strowman would only have one more notable feud leading to taking place in 2021. In the build to WrestleMania, Shane McMahon would regularly taunt and humiliate Braun by implying and calling him stupid. It was a bit strange. It didn't completely gel with the audience, but it did lead to an entertaining steel cage match on night one of WrestleMania 37. It seemed like Strowman was still going to be a prominent member of the WWE. As following this, he had another shot at the WWE title at Backlash against, sorry, I'm not going to call it WrestleMania Backlash. It's Backlash.
It's Backlash.
I'm not calling it fucking WrestleMania Backlash. Are we about to go to WrestleMania Backlash SummerSlam? No. Anyway, it was against Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley. The match was highly celebrated, but a few short weeks later, he would be shockingly released. And
I apologize for my notes.
Yeah, I'm reading it fine, and you're fucking spelling it wrong. Anytime I say anything wrong, it's this guy. It's this guy over here.
I wrote them all while I was at work today. What do you want from me?
Quit your job, obviously.
I wish.
I think this is the most shocking on the list, and it's very strange.
Yes.
Braun Strowman has said before, this was said, when he was in the good books, he said, I am never setting foot in a ring again if it's not for, Vince. I won't work. I won't wrestle. I'm done with wrestling if I'm not wrestling for the WWE.
There's also that. And then it's a question of what are people going to want to reach out to him? Because he was quite known for bad mouth in a lot of other places on Twitter, if I remember correctly.
There was a lot of backstage things that I'm told he kind of was a bit arsey here and there, and he badmouthed indie wrestlers during COVID.
Yes, that was the thing I think I'm remembering. He said some pretty harsh things when they were like going through a really bad time, and it was like, this is poor timing, Braun. You shouldn't say this stuff.
Yeah, it's just like, well, you're out of work. You should get a job type thing. It's like, well, Braun. Hold on, is that something I sowed, and I'm supposed to reap it? Well, he's fine though. I'm sure he's minted. So
yeah. He dabs at his tier with $100 note.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Okay, let's say where we would like him to end up if he does want to do that. The thing is, he'll probably end up being rehired by WWE anyway.
I think so. I feel like this is, if you look at those names, that would be the guaranteed one that Vince would eventually want to bring back in. Maybe for less money. Maybe this is just a power play on Vince's behalf to try and drop that contract a bit. It's been done before. This is what Vince would do.
It's such a ridiculous system where you can sign a contract and then just the contract holder can just say, fuck off. I mean, I think he gets 6 months, three or 6 months of his downside payment. He doesn't get, bought out of his contract, which a normal contract really should, because so many of these people are being kicked out, and they planned a life. They bought a house. They put down payments on things, and now they're just fucked.
Yeah.
I don't know if Strowman is in that boat, but
yeah.
I do wonder what he'd do. I doubt he'd go back to powerlifting. I'm not sure what the longevity of a powerlifter is.
I mean, maybe even if it's not something like that, maybe he does try to go into acting. I mean, I'm not saying he'll be like the next Batista or Rock, but I mean, maybe like a Kurgan, To
be honest, he was the best part of Holmes and Watson.
You're not a big fan of those movies?
I wanted to die. I would rather watch the 4-hour Zack Snyder cut of Justice League 19 times before I watched Holmes and Watson again. So bad.
Damn hot take. But you know what I mean? Like he wouldn't be the star, but you could easily hire him to be just big man Bond henchman. Doesn't have to say anything, just has to smash shit up and get into a fight.
I wouldn't be surprised if I see him in just like a Steven Seagal movie later down the line. It's a shame.
Selling for beer guts Seagal.
I think the best place for him in the wrestling world is... I think maybe the best people that could book him might be NWA. Maybe.
That's not a terrible shout. I was thinking probably Impact, something like that.
I don't know.
I don't see him on AEW, and a lot of people seem to think that's where they'll go. I don't see that happening. I don't think Tony Khan is, even though that they do go through, they bring in a lot of people quite often. I still think Tony Khan is smart with where he puts his money and who he wants on the brand, and I just don't. When they've already got someone like a Lance Archer, who's a way more like a better big man, they've already got quite a few there. I don't think they need a Braun Strowman to come on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. For me, NWA looks like the kind of place where you could book him fairly well. Should he go somewhere else? New Japan has a history of really good big men.
Oh, that's true.
I don't know if that works this day and age, but
when you think of New Japan now, they've got big men, but they're the sort of modern big man, if that makes sense, like a Jeff Cobb or a Shingo Takagi. Like they're not only monsters, but they can wrestle pretty damn well.
Yeah, one of the best big men they have is Tomohiro Ishii, and he's like my height. But you don't think it because he carries himself. He's called the Stone Pitbull, for Christ's sake. I don't know. I hope all of these people land on their feet. Braun Strowman is one of those people who has a lot of stock in them, so could go somewhere, and he's genetically, to coin a phrase from Charlotte Flair's, I think it was Michael Cole that said about Charlotte Flair, he is genetically superior. So there you go.
Well, I think we'll just jump on to the next one. So we'll cover Ruby Riott next. Was this one shocking to you all? I felt like this kind of was a little bit. Maybe not on the same level as a Braun, but I would have thought, given... When doing the notes, I realized she's not actually been there for as long as I thought she had, and she didn't achieve anywhere near what a lot of the women have, but she still seemed like a prominent name that they could rely on, if you know what I mean. It was a bit like when Heath Slater got released. I was surprised at him getting released because you hear a lot backstage that they were happy that the fact he would just kind of show up and do what was needed of him, even if it was quite damaging to his character. You know what I mean? He was just a team player, and it seemed like that's kind of what Ruby was. And I thought that's the kind of people they did like to keep because then it meant, they could just basically do what they want with them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I was surprised because of them firing, 2/3 of the Riott squad. One of them was pregnant at the time, I think. Maybe she got pregnant after, I forget. But, I'm not really surprised. Which is annoying because she's fucking like brilliant.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And now you look at the depth of the women's rosters on SmackDown has like 7 women.
Is that all they've got now?
That's not an exaggeration either. That's basically how much they have. And it's just very strange. Like 2 or 3 years ago, you asked me like, okay, when AEW was starting, and one of the biggest criticism that everyone has of AEW is that their women's division isn't very good. Not that the women aren't; it's not booked very well. And then COVID happened, and they couldn't get some of the women over from Japan or from the UK. Like I would have said to you, yeah, WWE has the best women's division. It'd be crazy for like any wrestler to go anywhere but WWE for the women's division. Now it's like, nah, you've got so many options now.
Oh yeah,
that are better, that are just far better, and we'll have better feuds and we'll just book you better and have people for you to fucking wrestle. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Ruby Riott is amazing. Indie name is Lovelace.
Yep.
Something Lovelace.
Heidi Lovelace.
Heidi Lovelace. I was this close.
You're close. So I think, we'll probably get to that in a second. We'll quickly run through the notes just to kind of show what her run was like. So before signing with WWE, Riott had a pretty successful career on the indie circuit, as we mentioned, wrestling as Heidi Lovelace, and she worked in the likes of OVW, Shine, Shakara, and even Stardom. In December 2016, it was reported that she had signed with WWE, and then she'd gone straight to the Performance Center, and she'd made her NXT TV debut on March 22nd. But her time with the Black and Gold brand was pretty brief. She had a few notable matches. I think the main one, I think a lot of people remember, was the Fatal 4-Way with her, Asuka, Ember Moon, and Nikki Cross at TakeOver Chicago. That was the one I remembered quite fondly. Other than that, I think she was only there for a couple of months. She had one of the shortest tenures in NXT. She got called up pretty quickly. On November 21st, 2017, episode of SmackDown, Riott made her debut on the main roster alongside Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan by attacking both Becky Lynch and Naomi and turning the group heel. Later that night, they interrupted a match between SmackDown's champion Charlotte Flair and Natalya and attacked both of them. And the following week, the trio came with the new name, the Riott Squad. They made the in-ring debut and actually defeated Flair, Natalya, and Naomi in a 6-woman tag match. So starting off pretty strong there. I mean, even back then, Flair was pretty much, peak of the women's division and still the one booked prominently. And you've got the old hands there of Natalya and Naomi. So they started off pretty strong when they debuted. On the January 28th, on January 28th, 2018, at the Royal Rumble event, Riott competed in the first ever women's Royal Rumble, lasting about 11 minutes, but was eliminated by Becky Lynch and Vicky Guerrero. She eliminated Becky Lynch and Vicky Guerrero before she was eliminated by Nia Jax. Riott would challenge Flair for the women's championship at Fastlane, but was unsuccessful. And Riott also competed in the first ever women's battle royal at the WrestleMania 34 kickoff show, and again was unsuccessful in winning that one. On April 16th, the Riott Squad were drafted to Raw as part of the 2018 shakeup. Later that night, the group attacked both Bayley and Sasha Banks during their match. 2 weeks later, Riott defeated Banks in her first match on Raw, and 6 days after that, at the Backlash kickoff, she defeated Bayley. The following night, Riott competed in a Money in the Bank qualifying match against Banks and Ember Moon, but Moon pinned Riott for the victory. She competed in a gauntlet match on the May 20th Raw, but was unsuccessful, and on the August 6th episode of Raw, after she was signed on her knee, it resulted in Morgan and Logan in defeating Bayley and Banks in a tag team match. In September, the Riott Squad began a feud with the Bella Twins, who aligned themselves with Ronda Rousey, and this prompted a 6-woman tag team match to take place at Super Showdown, where the Riott Squad were defeated. The squad took part of the first ever women's all pay-per-view Evolution, where they were defeated by Bayley, Banks, and Natalya. On November 12th episode of Raw, Riott was named as the final member for Team Raw in the 5-on-5 elimination match, but during the event's kickoff, Riott and Natalya fought in the locker room, and this led Alexa Bliss removing them from the team and replacing them with Banks and Bayley. On January 27, 2019, at the Royal Rumble, Riott competed in the second Women's Royal Rumble match, entering at number 21 and lasting about 13 minutes and eliminating 4 competitors before she was eliminated by Bayley. The following month, on February 17th, Riott challenged Ronda Rousey for the Women's Championship at Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, but was destroyed in under 2 minutes. The following night on Raw, Riott faced Rousey again, this time in a non-title match. However, she was once again defeated by submission. And on April 7th, during the WrestleMania 35 kickoff show, Riott again competed in the Women's Battle Royal match, but that was won by Carmella that year. During the 2019 shake-up, Morgan was moved to SmackDown, effectively ending the group. And following the disbandment, Riott underwent shoulder surgery to repair an injury she'd had for quite a while. Riott would return, though, from injury on February 3rd, 2020, episode of Raw, attacking a former Riott Squad member, Liv Morgan, which resulted in a match between the two with Sarah Logan as the special guest referee, where Liv was victorious after a fast count by Logan. At Elimination Chamber on March 8th, Riott competed in the Elimination Chamber match, during which he was eliminated by eventual winner Shayna Baszler. Was that the one where Shayna basically
everyone
smashed everyone? Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah. Fucking, that was how you should have book her at that time, and now she's fighting dolls and is going to lose.
Oh, God, yeah. After WrestleMania 36, Riott continued her feud with Morgan, where she lost to her twice on April 20th and 27th episode of Raw, respectively. On the June 22nd episode of Raw, Riott attempted to console Morgan after a loss, but Morgan immediately rejected her. Over the next couple of weeks, Riott started teasing a face turn by defending Morgan from bullying from the Iconics, initiating a feud from them in the process. And on the July 13th episode of Raw, Riott turned face, where she formed an alliance with Bianca Belair, and the two defeated the Iconics in a tag team match the same night. On August 3rd episode of Raw, Ruby appeared on the Kevin Owens show and apologized to the returning Liv Morgan, only to be interrupted by the Iconics. Later the same night, Liv decided to team with Riott to take on the Iconics in a winning effort. This would mark the beginning of the reformation of Morgan and Riott as the Riott Squad. They would face the Iconics 2 more times at Payback, and on August 31st episode of Raw, for the number one contendership for the Tag Team Championships, also forcing the Iconics to break up per stipulation. As part of the 2020 draft, they were both moved to SmackDown. And from then on, they didn't do a lot of note. I think the only last thing of note I could really spot was they were in, obviously, the match, the tag team gauntlet match at this year's WrestleMania, where they were pretty dominant. I think they got 2 wins in that, but then were ultimately beat by Tamina and Natalya. And then, obviously, after this, Ruby got released.
I'll talk about what I always talk about is tag team wrestling. So I'll leave that for a second. Yeah. When we talk about ambition and being the cream of the crop and all this kind of thing, I think what a lot of people get bogged down in is winning championships or headlining WrestleMania and these big things. She did challenge for the women's title twice, right? I like it around twice. And
I'd say a decent handful of times. She's had her shots, put it that way.
Right. Which is very commendable and something that I hope is, fills her with, accomplishment for that. However, WWE have been awful with tag teams for the longest time. They introduced a new title, women's tag team title, and had it defended in a fatal 4-way tag team match, and then the match after that was an elimination chamber match.
Yep.
Don't understand. And then what they do is it's just like they have a very small women's roster with currently about 7-8 women on SmackDown. How the fuck are you going to do women's tag team like that? And then it's like, okay, cool. Well, at least we've got some actual real tag teams. We've got the Iconics. We've got the Riott Squad. So we're going to have the Riott Squad face the Iconics to break up the Iconics. Then we're going to fire the Iconics. And then we're going to break up the Riott Squad. And then we're going to fire the Riott Squad.
Yeah. Just...
Hello? Am I the only one here or are you the only one here? I can't tell. Maybe I've dropped connection.
Wow,
and I don't know.
Oh,
hello.
We're here. Okay,
I couldn't tell. Cool. I couldn't tell who left, whether it was me or you.
But as I was saying, looking at the history of the belts, only the Iconics, I would say, are the only proper women's tag team that were a team have held it. The rest have all been these odd pairings. We'll cut around this.
So the Iconics were the only tag team.
Yeah. Looking at the list, it's only Oh, there we go. Okay. So looking at the list, yeah, the Iconics are the only real tag team that have held it. I mean, the rest of the ones that have sort of formed, but then got a name like the Boss and Hug Connection and the Kabuki Warriors. So, and I wouldn't really, class them as proper tag teams. It's still just a random together tandem. What's he doing?
It's not a carbon monoxide one, is it?
I hope
going
not.
loopy. They didn't actually get fired. They're not that crazy. You just got carbon monoxide poisoning.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, my What were we talking about? WWE being fucking ridiculous. Stop firing tag teams.
Yeah, exactly. The one out of X amount that they've actually got that proper women's tag teams. And they've just got rid of another member from one of them and effectively ended that team. I just don't know why Vince hates tag wrestling so much, given we talked about this last week on our top 5 women's matches. He really needs to go back through his archive. For a company that's so blinded by nostalgia, having Legends nights and always talking about the past, he really needs to look deeper in his library to look when they originally had tag team titles and they actually had tag teams that were really good, like the Jumping Bomb Angels and the Glamour Girls. Just take a little bit of that, put it here, give us a proper tag division. You'll make money. And that's what you like, Vince. You like money. And give them a belt that doesn't look like a fucking toy.
It is a shame that we lost Heidi Lovelace. However, this is someone that could show up wherever. AEW seems like where she'll show up to me, because she's very good, and AEW like that. But truthfully, she could go wherever the fuck she wants. She could go to Impact. She could go to. I think if she goes to anywhere other than AEW, she's probably winning some titles. Right? That feels like the trajectory for me. If she goes to Impact, I could see her being women's champion there pretty soon. I'm not sure.
I'm with you. Excuse me. I'm hoping it'll be AEW because even though their division has gotten a lot better recently, but purely, I'd say, on the back of the likes of Britt Baker, they still need those people to inject the right blood into it to help elevate, and I think she's like a perfect name for that.
Yeah, I mean they've tried some things that have scrapped and whatnot. They did that. Brandy did that thing. Do you know what I'm on about? Brandy did a whole
the Nightmare Collective.
I think it had a different name before that, maybe.
The Stable, right? Am I right?
Yeah, maybe
yeah.
It is the Nightmare Collective, but they scrapped that pretty quick. And a few other things they're just like, all right, we'll kill that. And they seem to be finding what's working so far. Britt Baker, DMD, Shida was starting to do pretty well and getting over. I think it's a shame that she didn't get the win with the crowd properly.
What are you talking about?
When Shida won, she wasn't with the crowd, was it?
Oh, you mean when Shida won the belt? Or you went when Britt won the belt?
Oh no, no,
dude, she won it in front of full capacity.
No, Shida. I think it was a shame that Shida didn't. Which I'm pretty sure she didn't. Oh, there it is. The new belt is just the same but bigger. It's fine. It does look better.
And gold.
Yeah.
It looks better. I'm with you. It looks way better than it did before.
I could see Heidi Lovelace winning that. Sure. Yeah.
I think the consensus is the world is her oyster at this point. So
yeah. Oh, and from all accounts as well, she's apparently absolutely a gem and lovely.
Oh yeah.
Everyone was posting about how that's an awful loss.
Yeah. That's what I said before about her being a good hand. It seems like no one had a bad word to say about her, and everyone was absolutely heartbroken that she wasn't going to be there anymore. So it just speaks volumes to the kind of person she must have been. Right, we'll move swiftly on. Do you want me to kind of go over the next one? Are we going in order of the notes I've prepared, or would you like to pick one to do?
Let's just keep going. Same order. It's fine.
Same order. All right, then. So it's over to the one I don't think people were totally shocked about, but it was still you've let money run through your hands there. Of course, being Aleister Black. I think the only way people were shocked is because he, after what was it, a 6-month absence, he finally came back and it looked like he was where he needed to be. He was getting pushed. He was going to go to a feud with Big E. It looked like he could have been like perfect to get like the mid card going again, and then all of a sudden just stripped away. But when you look back for the notes we do in a second, like other than his run in NXT, his main roster was a bit all over the place. It's like they never knew fully what they wanted to do with him. Despite he's come out recently and said he had a good relationship with Vince, and Vince had these ideas, but it seems like ultimately they just didn't know where or what they had and what they could have done with him.
Well, so he came back with this dark father gimmick, right? Came out, attacked Big E. I think they had a planned match like the next week or something. He pitched a bunch of ideas. He had a new theme, all of this kind of thing. That he showed it on Twitch, I believe.
Wow.
And to me, it just speaks volumes on how quickly and how possibly little thought went into all of this in firing them.
Yeah.
If you've got this all planned, you've spent money on a new theme, you've spent time planning everything out, you're like, okay, well, this is going forward, this is his story with Big E, and you've booked out other wrestlers to be like, this is going to be their story, it's all going to, and then just fucking get rid of him. It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane.
To quote the man himself in the tweet he put out pretty much straight away, he said it was very left field, I think he said. So even he had no idea that he would have been up for the job. Because like I say, it seemed like they'd finally repackaged them. They'd give them a new theme. They'd done everything that would point to, oh, well, you're safe. You're going to be sticking around. And then, nope, he's just gone. And like you said, he doesn't seem upset or sour about it. And as again, like the last one, I think the world will be his oyster, which we'll get onto. But let's quickly run down what he achieved. So obviously before signing with WWE, Black had a lengthy career on the indies, wrestling as Tommy End. He was pretty much popular across Europe and the likes of the UK, so he was quite a mainstay in the places like ICW, Dub and Progress. But he did have quite popular on other shows, so he wrestled for CZW, PWG, and BJW. On June 2016, it was reported that Black had signed with WWE and he had reported to the Performance Center. Vignettes began to air from the 8th of March, episode of NXT promoting Black's debut, and Black made his televised in-ring debut at TakeOver Orlando on the 1st of April, defeating Andrade Cien Almas. His first notable feud began 2nd of August. Prior to Black's match, Hideo Itami cut a promo in the ring demanding respect. Black interrupted, resulting in a standoff between the two, and then Black performed Black Mass on Itami. Itami attempted to attack Black afterwards, but the two were separated, and this led to their TakeOver Brooklyn free match in which Black defeated Itami. Black then began a feud with the Velveteen Dream, where Dream constantly stalked and harassed Black in order for him to say his name, which resulted in their match at War Games, which Black won, but in a bit of pure brilliance, he did say Velveteen's name. That was a brilliant feud I completely forgot about until I started doing these notes.
Yeah,
the fact that they built the whole thing around him wanting to say his name was so well done.
Rest in infamy, Velveteen Dream was the line.
Yes, that was it. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. On the 27th of December episode of NXT, Black suffered his first pinfall loss by Johnny Gargano in a fatal four-way match after interference from the Undisputed Era, which built to a match at TakeOver Philadelphia, in which Black defeated Adam Cole in an Extreme Rules match. Following his victory against Cole, Black would go on the hunt for the NXT Championships, which eventually led him to face Andrade at TakeOver New Orleans, and he did defeat Almas to win the NXT Championship. Black would only have a short hold of the title, however, as he lost the belt to Tommaso Ciampa on the 25th of July episode of NXT, ending his reign at 108 days. Following week on NXT, Black approached the ring during Ciampa's address to the universe, only for Gargano to run out ahead of him and attack Ciampa, after which he attacked Gargano with a black mass before indicating that his NXT Championship loss was Gargano's fault. I'm going to keep screwing that name up. A match between the three for the title was scheduled for TakeOver Brooklyn 4. However, Black was later found unconscious in the parking lot outside the arena after being attacked by an unseen and unknown assailant. It was later reported that Black was sent to a local medical facility and was announced as being unable to compete. After being out of action for 2 months, Black returned on the 17th of October episode of NXT, confronting Nikki Cross, who revealed that Johnny Gargano was the one who had attacked him, and a match between Black and Gargano was scheduled for TakeOver War Games, in which Black was victorious. At TakeOver Phoenix, Black failed to regain the championship from Tommaso Ciampa. In March, Black formed a tag team with Ricochet, and the two competed in the 2019 Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, and they won after defeating the Forgotten Sons in the final. This led to them having a match against the War Raiders at TakeOver New York, but they failed in capturing the NXT Tag Team titles. On the 18th of February episode of Raw, Black made his official debut on the main roster, defeating Elias. Black also continued his team with Ricochet, and the duo did compete for the Tag Team Championship at Fastlane that featured Bobby Roode and Chad Gable, and the Revival, but failed to win. Black and Ricochet also competed for the SmackDown Championships in a fatal four-way match the following month at WrestleMania 35, but again were unsuccessful. As part of the Superstar shakeup, Black was drafted to Raw. However, Black was drafted to the SmackDown brand due to his real-life wife, Selena Vega, being drafted there, therefore splitting him from Ricochet. Black then began appearing on SmackDown, and his challenge was... I keep screwing up here. Black began appearing in anonymous backstage promos in the Dark Room, awaiting a challenger. On the 9th of July episode of SmackDown, his challenge was eventually accepted, with the mystery opponent revealed as Cesaro, who was Black's opponent at Extreme Rules and Black's first single pay-per-view since joining the main roster. Black defeated Cesaro at Extreme Rules. As part of the 2019 draft in October, Black was drafted to Raw. Over the following weeks, Black would develop a winning streak, squashing his opponents, and on the 18th of November episode of Raw, Buddy Murphy went to Black's locker room to challenge him, but Black was absent, and Murphy claimed that Black was all talk and no fight. The following week, Black appeared and attacked Murphy after his match, and a match between Black and Murphy was scheduled for tables, ladders, and chairs, which Black won. Following this, Black was in a couple of feuds with the likes of the OC and Bobby Lashley, and he also qualified for the Money in Bank ladder match, which was notable because that was where him and Rey Mysterio were thrown off the WWE headquarters roof during the match, and everyone thought they died, but they came up with the bullshit excuse that they landed on a smaller roof, just slightly below. Following this, Black began a feud with Seth Rollins and Murphy after Rollins injured Rey Mysterio's eye, and on the 27th of July episode of Raw, Murphy injured Black's right eye by driving it through the steel steps. On the 24th of August episode of Raw, Black, now wearing an eye bandage, returned during the Kevin Owens show and attacked Kevin Owens, turning heel. The following week on Raw, he attacked Kevin Owens again with his Black Mass finishing move before a match against Randy Orton, which Owens lost. On the 14th of September episode of Raw, Owens defeated Black, and Owens would go on to defeat Black again via disqualification on the 28th of September episode of Raw. On the 12th of October episode of Raw, Black would lose again to Owens in a no disqualification match, ending the feud, and as part of the 2020 draft in October, Black was drafted to SmackDown. However, following the draft, Black would appear from television for 6 months. After his absence, Black returned on the April 23rd, 2021 episode of SmackDown in a vignette promoting his return. After several weeks of vignettes, Black returned on the May 21st episode of SmackDown, attacking Big E with the Black Mass, which again allowed Apollo Crews to retain the Intercontinental Championship. However, as we know, he was then released on the June 2nd of 2021 by WWE. Black later revealed on a Twitch stream that the day of release was allegedly due to budget cuts, and that he and Vince McMahon were on really good terms and expressed interest in returning later down the road.
Just a shame. Just the talent.
Just a shame. Like we've seen there, like in NXT, something else that came out recently was apparently Vince wanted him up quite early in his NXT run, and Triple H really had to fight to keep him in NXT a bit longer. So it's just really weird reports. It seems like Vince was very high on him, but then when he actually had him, just didn't fucking know what he wanted to do with him.
It's a dog chasing car, type thing. He doesn't know what to do when he actually catches it, which is a shame. And I just fear every time a new feud happens or a new storyline goes on, like Matt Riddle with Randy Orton right now. I just worry that Randy Orton's just going to turn around RKO him, and then we're not going to see Riddle again for like 3 months for no reason other than he's got bored of it. And similar things happened here. It seems he was just gone. They had so many ideas and stories. The budget cut reasons are stupid and bullshit, really, because it's hand over fist profit.
Yeah.
It's billions in profit. It's the bottom line that they wanted to just raise by $1 million total for all these people being gone, just because they had an investor meeting next week and it sounds slightly better. when in the grand scheme, $1 million is fuck all in terms of like their actual worth.
I mean, I don't know what he was earning, but I doubt it was anywhere near Braun as well.
No.
So it's still surprising. I mean, the obvious thing to this is that he did deserve more in WWE, and it seemed like he was willing to. He seems like he pitched all kinds of ideas and was constantly trying to get stuff on TV. And for whatever reason, he just got told to sit in catering. I think a lot of people still seem to think maybe it's because of the whole thing with Selena, but even he doesn't seem to really think that's been caused much of an issue, because he did say he kept his work life as work and his personal life as his personal life.
I don't
let that get in the way.
I don't think it was that, and partly because I really don't want it to be that, because if that's the case and that's how petty this man actually is, Vinnie Mac, then it should have been shut down long ago.
Oh yes, yeah.
I think that it's good he's gone, because they gave him quite a cool entrance where he like comes up like that, and they made it creak. Why did they make it creak? Why did they fucking make it creak? The whole point of him like going up like that is that it's supposed to be like some kind of like vampiric thing, not his bones going. It's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be a fucking rusty gate on a graveyard. It's supposed to be him fucking vampirically just no matter how truly good. That big shame, big sad.
Big shame. But unless this is one of the names they want to snap back up, we've already talked about this before, I would love to see him in New Japan in the G1, just kicking dudes in the head. Just it would be amazing. And then, of course, he gets to go back to his much better name of Tommy fucking End.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy fucking End.
I didn't mind Aleister Black. Aleister Black's
Aleister Black's a great name, but I think Tommy End's a much better name. And,
I don't know. I'm indifferent. I think they're both the same to me.
Well, you're wrong, but
all right.
It's your opinion and whatever.
Oh, I'm going to Tommy End this conversation. I'll give you an Aleister Black eye. Let's move on to the next one. Before we just Alistair at each other.
Yeah. So this one, I'm surprised didn't happen a while ago, but who knows? So obviously, it was Lana was also released. There she is. Yeah. So when obviously Rusev left, it was surprising that she was this far behind going with them. As we'll see in the later stuff, maybe Vince kept her around for his amusement, given the storyline she had last year. We'll get onto that. But yeah, well, what's your thoughts on Lana leaving? Or being told to leave, rather.
Not surprising.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhat disappointing, because I think she's actually a really, really good talent, especially manager wise, and seems to have been like, in comparison with a lot of the other wrestlers there, she's still very green, but she had been putting in the work and she was doing fairly well, and they'd put her in a tag team, and I like tag teams. And it also means that, her weaknesses could be held up by Naomi's strengths. It also means that when you kick someone out who is in a team with someone, you fuck over the other person as well, Yeah. They're not suddenly going to be put into a different feud. They're just going to meander about and be in a precarious position, being catering for a while.
I mean, that was already kind of happening anyway, because when I don't think after Mania the pair of them would have been seen on TV, right? I mean, I don't watch Raw and SmackDown anyway, but
I think they'd been on. I think they'd been on a little bit. Yeah, they had some backstage things, and I think they had a couple matches.
Okay. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, it's a shame. Definitely a very good talent. Possibly far better as a manager, I would say.
Absolutely. The earlier stuff before she got in the ring was tremendous. It was like, I don't like to use the word valet because that is a very archaic term, but she was like the next step along from that, where it was like a more modern view on it, if that made sense. It wasn't just, she was pretty iconic. She was a legit good manager, accompanying her husband at the ring, and could get him good heat as well, especially in the early days. Like when I'm going through the notes, she did say a lot of controversial things just to get their characters over, and I mean, it worked. I guess it made them popular.
Yeah, I mean, they did it. They told the most classic wrestling story of foreign person bad, America good, and they told it like really well and quite fun.
Yeah.
Sure, there's some xenophobia here and there, but as that story went, it was really good. And also Rusev came in a fucking tank. It's really cool.
Yeah.
So she signed with WWE in 2013. June 2013, where she was sent to their developmental branch, NXT. She debuted on October 23rd, 2013, under the ring name Lana, scouting Alexander Rusev. On the November 6th episode of NXT, Lana became Rusev's social ambassador, using a Russian accent and developing a character who majored in foreign affairs and business and social media marketing in college. Lana made her main roster debut on January 31st episode of SmackDown, where she and Rusev in the following weeks appeared in a series of self-promotional videos and speeches. In early May, Lana began dedicating Rusev's matches to her hero, President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, as well as adopting an anti-American Russophilic gimmick. Lana would have a somewhat controversial time in WWE, with one of the first instances occurring when she made some controversial comments during an in-ring promo prior to Rusev's match at Battleground, blaming the United States for current world events and praising Putin. Although she did not directly mention it, some media outlets said that Lana was making reference to the crash of the Malaysia Airline Flight 17, which happened 3 days before Battleground, to help build heat for Rusev in his feud against Jack Swagger. A representative of WWE later told TMZ that the segment was not specifically about the Malaysian Airlines crash, noting that Rusev-Lana storyline has been a part of WWE program for more than 3 months. WWE apologized to anyone who misunderstood the last night's segment and was offended. Lana would stay at Rusev's manager for a long portion of the early run. However, on May 17th at Payback, Cena defeated Rusev in an I Quit match after Lana quit on Rusev's behalf. This caused the pair to split and for her to align herself with Dolph Ziggler, turning her face. Summer Rae was added to the mix of the feud. However, it became somewhat murked as Lana and Rusev became engaged in real life. On top of that, wrist injury brought the whole thing to an end. It was during this time that Lana, making steps to becoming a wrestler, though it was apparent she was very green, having no previous background. She had brief feuds and appeared in qualifying matches for the likes of Money in the Bank. She was also an entrant in the first ever Women's Royal Rumble. Throughout late July 2018, she was booked with Rusev and Aiden English against Andrade, Cien Almas, and Zelina Vega. This turned Lana face for the first time since 2015. At SummerSlam, Lana and Rusev faced Vega and Almas, which they lost. However, they won the rematch on the following night on SmackDown. She competed at WrestleMania 35 in the annual Women's WrestleMania Battle Royal match, but did not win. Lana turned heel again on September 30th, 2019 edition of Raw after betraying Rusev and kissing Bobby Lashley. Scandalous. During Rusev's Universal Championship match with Seth Rollins. After Rusev was legitimately released from his WWE contract, Lana remained in character, mocking him on social media. Lana then began a feud with MVP after he tried to gain Lashley as an ally. At Backlash, Lashley was unsuccessful in capturing the WWE Championship due to an altercation between MVP and Lana at ringside, which allowed Drew McIntyre to retain his championship. The following night on Raw, Lashley confronted Lana and blamed her for his loss at Backlash, stating that she used him to get famous, including making their sex life public. Lashley would then ask for a divorce before leaving with MVP. On the September 14th episode of Raw, after Lana and Natalya lost to the Riott Squad, Nia Jax performed a Samoan drop on Lana through the commentator's table. And that would become a theme. Jax would Samoan drop Lana through the table on a weekly basis during Raw. On the October 12th episode of Raw, after Lana and Natalya lost to Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose, Natalya left Lana in the ring, claims that she's done, thus ending their alliance. On the main event, on the same show, Lana won a battle royal by last eliminating Natalya to challenge the Raw Women's Champion Asuka for the title, turning face in the process. In the following week on Raw, Lana challenged Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship, but was unsuccessful. After the match, Jack Samoan dropped Lana through the commentators' table for the 5th week in a row. On November 22nd, at Survivor Series, Lana participated in the traditional Survivor Series elimination match as part of Team Raw. During the match, Lana was told by her teammates to stand on the ring steps, not to tag it in again. At the end of the match, Jax and Bianca Belair from Team SmackDown were counted out, leaving Lana the sole survivor, thus winning the match for her team. On the next day on Raw, Lana challenged Asuka again for the Raw Women's Championship. However, the match ended in a no contest as Asuka was attacked by the Women's Tag Team Champions Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, who were on commentary. As Lana saved Asuka from Jax, who tried to Samoan drop her through the commentators' table, the two defeated Baszler and Jax as Lana escaped, going through a table for the first time in a couple of weeks. On the next Raw Women's Champion Asuka and Lana defeated the Women's Tag Team Champions again after Lana pinned Baszler. On the December 14th, 2020 episode of Raw, Jackson Baszler injured Lana's arm and leg, making her unable to compete in the TLC pay-per-view match with Asuka as her partner against Jackson Baszler. She returned on January 31st, 2021 at the Royal Rumble as the 26th entrant and lasted 9 minutes 28 seconds before being eliminated by Natalya. The following night on Raw, she teamed with Naomi to earn the future Women's Tag Team Championship match. They were scheduled to fight in a Tag Team Turmoil match in Night 1 of WrestleMania 37 to determine the number 1 contenders for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship at Night 2 against Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, and they were eliminated by Billie Kay and Carmella. Lana was installment on getting Rusev over as a heel because he's too likable on his own. That is true. That is true. Yeah. If Rusev was on his own, he would have become... Rusev Day would have happened way sooner. Yeah, without a doubt. It's a shame. She's going to AEW with Rusev. Moving on.
That's basically it. Moving on. Well, do you want to take us through... the next one? Because I know you're a big fan of Murphy.
It's my boy Murphy.
Oh, yes.
Murphy and Aleister Black being released at the same time is rather serendipitous, almost fortuitous, because these two in WWE practically had a linked career for a short time. Yes, they had that great match on the main roster, but before Aleister Black was moved up, while they were both in NXT, there was a whole house show circuit of these two just wrestling. And it was like match of the night every night. And they were just amazing and had great chemistry. And, you know, for their part, I think they both did a fairly good job when they moved up. Murphy obviously was, you know, tried to find his footing. And where he did, I think he you can't shake a stick at what he did on the main roster, I think.
No. Well, put it this way. Literally was about a month ago we were talking about his partner, Blake, and how he basically was always on the coattails of someone else, whatever tag team he was part of. And Murphy's kind of the prime example of that. Like, he just shot off after their tag team ended. And yeah, fair enough. You can say he wasn't always featured prominently, but he was part of some pretty big storylines. I mean, he was part of... So what you want about the eye for an eye thing? That was one of the most talked about storylines, and he was a pretty big player in that. And even when he wasn't like featuring a big storyline, he was having show stealing matches, whether that was in the cruiserweight division or again with the likes of Aleister Black. So he was someone who really fought to prove his worth. And yes. I think it's going to do well for him going elsewhere following this.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, his matches with Mustafa Ali, I think that was the height of 205 Live for me. That was the point, because I didn't watch it on the reg. I definitely lost interest when Enzo Amore was there. I lost interest when they lost Neville when Pac left. But when he was champ and he was putting on these mad matches, and he just exceptional. It was incredible. A real loss of talent. The kind of person that if you're going to do a 205 Live, if you're going to do a cruiserweight division, he is your perfect building block for that, because he's fucking incredible. And he He looks like a monster of the cruiserweight division, which he was for a long time. He has some amazingly innovative offense. Murphy's Law, one of my favorite moves. It's just like what, a pump handle spinning Samoan drop, right? Because you kind of get him up like that, kind of in a pump handle, spins into a Samoan drop type deal.
Right. Okay.
It's something that he's able to make quite a simple move, really. It's practically just a Samoan drop that spins. Make these things look incredible and over the top and mad. And he is just exceptional. But let's go through his history. Before signing with WWE, Murphy had a successful career on the Indies as Matt Silver. Despite wrestling for various promotions, he was mostly a mainstay in his home country with the promotion Melbourne City Wrestling, where he was their champion for 293 days. On the 17th March 2013, Murphy signed a developmental contract with WWE and was assigned to their developmental territory, NXT. He mostly would make house show appearances under the name Buddy Murphy. In August 2014, Murphy formed a tag team with Wesley Blake. On the 14th August episode of NXT, they defeated in the first round of a number one contender tag team tournament by the Lucha Dragons. The pair would feud with the Dragons and the Vaudevillains for the rest of the year. On the 21st of January 2015 episode of NXT, Blake and Murphy defeated the Vaudevillains and quickly challenged the Lucha Dragons to a title match. On the 28th of January episode of NXT, Blake and Murphy defeated the champions to win the NXT Tag Team Championships, making Murphy the first Australian to hold a championship in WWE. The pair would enter a number of feuds during their time as champions, but their most notable was against Enzo Amore and Big Cass, Colin Cassidy. The pair would eventually add Alexa Bliss to their team, who was at the time in a real-life relationship with Murphy. They got a pig together, which unfortunately passed away, Larry Steve, very recently. After making several successful title defenses, Blake and Murphy lost the championship to the Vaudevillains at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, ending their reign at 219 days. Not long after losing the belts, the team would split up and Murphy would mainly make a few televised matches before being called up. In early 2018, Murphy lost about 25 pounds and asked to compete on the 205 Live brand. On 20th of February, episode of 205 Live, he made his debut as a participant in the Cruiserweight Championship tournament, defeating Arya Daivari in the first round, but lost to Mustafa Ali in the quarterfinals. Murphy would have many shots at the title that ultimately proved unsuccessful. On the 6th of October at Super Showdown in his hometown of Melbourne, Murphy defeated Alexander to win the Cruiserweight Championship, his first singles title in WWE, the first Australian man to accomplish this feat. He would hold onto the belt for 183 days before losing the title to Tony Nese on the WrestleMania pre-show. On 16th of April 2019, Murphy was drafted to the SmackDown brand as part of the Superstar Shakeup. Murphy had various feuds during this time and wowed audiences and critics with his in-ring work. On the 14th of October, Murphy was drafted to the Raw brand as part of the 2019 draft. Over the following weeks, Murphy would develop a winning streak, defeating the likes of R-Truth, Cedric Alexander, Akira Tozawa, Matt Hardy, Zack Ryder. He entered in a 20-man battle royal at Crown Jewel on the 31st of October to determine who would face AJ Styles for the United States Championship later in the night, but he failed to win. Murphy engaged in a feud with Aleister Black towards the end of 2019. However, he lost to Black at TLC, Tables, Ladders, and Chairs, the 30th of December episode of Raw, and the 13th of January 2020 episode of Raw. On the 13th of January episode of Raw, after losing his match to Aleister Black, Murphy sat at ringside in distress throughout the remainder of the show. During the main event, Murphy aligned with the Monday Night Messiah, Seth Rollins, and AOP, Authors of Pain, allowing them to defeat Big Show, Samoa Joe, and Kevin Owens, and joining in their stable as a disciple. The following week on Raw, Murphy and Rollins defeated the Viking Raiders, Eric and Ivar, to win the WWE Raw Tag Team Championship. On 7th of February, his ring name was shortened back to simply Murphy. Murphy and Rollins successfully defended their titles against the Street Profits at Super Showdown on 27th of February, but eventually lost the titles to them in a rematch on the 2nd of March episode of Raw. The reign ended at 42 days. Murphy and Rollins failed to reclaim the championships from the team at Elimination Chamber 6 days later. In May, Murphy and Rollins started a feud with Rey Mysterio and his family, as well as Aleister Black. At Payback, Murphy and Rollins lost to Mysterio and his son Dominic, after Murphy accidentally kicked Rollins, costing them the match. On the 15th of September episode of Raw, Rollins attacked Murphy after Murphy cost Rollins in a steel cage match against Dominic, leading to Murphy getting closer with Rey Mysterio's daughter, Aaliyah. As part of the 2020 draft in October, Murphy was drafted to SmackDown brand. The storyline continued when after Aaliyah kissed Murphy. On the 13th of November episode of SmackDown, Murphy turned on Rollins, thus turning him face for the first time in his WWE career. Murphy defeated Rollins the following week on SmackDown to end the storyline. The love storyline between Murphy and Aaliyah would be dropped shortly after, and Murphy would be taken off television. Good, I think.
Yeah.
It was always a little bit creepy.
Yeah.
Murphy returned on the 5th of March 2021 episode of SmackDown, trying to reunite with Seth Rollins against Cesaro, to which Rollins rebuffed. Murphy would then go on to lose a match against Cesaro. Murphy's last WWE appearance took place on April 9th, 2021 WrestleMania edition of SmackDown in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, having been eliminated by King Corbin. Sad, but again, won titles, did amazing, worked. That's a very brass ring grabbing performance.
It was. It seemed like, especially when you look at this stuff, maybe when he was in NXT as Blake and Murphy, that was good. But then after that, it felt like, well, what's he going to do now? And he kept constantly outdoing people's expectations, I would say. I think he went from being someone who many people wouldn't have thought much of, and then because of these tremendous matches and the fact he kept getting himself in the title shot, people do remember him, and he proved how much of a great worker he was.
Yeah, 100%. Go wherever you want. Murphy.
Yeah, exactly.
Go wherever the fuck you want.
G1 climax amazing. Black.
The thing is, he could go to the G1 and do amazing in the G1, or he could go to the Best of the Super Juniors and just dominate the entire division for years. Because he's amazing. I don't even know what stable. I think he'd be a good fit for a Bullet Club type, maybe. I think he's got that like heelish attitude for the Bullet Club. Don't know if he'd fit in very well.
LIJ Australia division.
Nah, he's not tranquilo enough. He's not chill. He's not chill. He could be, maybe. Andrade will go and be tranquilo again, but no. Matt Silver, you're like one of the best fucking cruiserweights in the biz, so you'll be fine.
Oh yeah, he'll be sorted.
Next.
Riott, well, last one on the docket, and probably by no means last, but one who had basically the shortest run there was Satana Garrett. I haven't got a lot of notes for this, so I'll just quickly fly through them and then give our thoughts on where she might end up. So, Satana Garrett, before signing with WWE, Garrett has had a pretty strong career working for the likes of TNA and Impact, Stardom, WoW, and Shine. In September 2013, Garrett did receive a tryout with WWE in the developmental for NXT, but she was ultimately where she faced Charlotte, but ended up losing. So she wasn't really kept on after that. In 2016, though not signed with WWE, she did make appearances on NXT, losing to the likes of Asuka, Emma, and Billie Kay. In 2017, she did return as part of the Mae Young Classic before being eliminated in the first round by Piper Niven. She made an appearance on the October 26, 2017 episode of NXT, participating in a battle royal, which was won by Nikki Cross to determine the number one contender for the vacant NXT Women's Championship at War Games. On the July 4, 2018 episode of NXT, Garrett was defeated by Dakota Kai. In mid-August 2019, it was announced that Garrett had officially signed a contract and would report to the Performance Center before she appeared in the developmental company NXT. On November 6, 2019, episode of NXT, Santana made her in-ring debut in a losing effort against Tainara. In a losing after Conti. On January 15th, 2020, Santana was an entrant in the number one contenders battle royal for the face Rhea Ripley for the championship at TakeOver Portland, but was eliminated by Shayna Baszler. On April 17th, 2020 episode of Main Event, Garrett made a debut on the main roster, losing to Liv Morgan. And on April 20th episode of Raw, Santana made a Raw debut, but was quickly defeated by Bianca Belair. Garrett had a losing streak in NXT, losing to the likes of Io Shirai, Bianca Belair, Mia Yim in convincing fashion, while also failing to win one of them. Win any on the main roster. Garrett ended her losing streak on the June 3rd, 2020 episode of NXT with a win over Alea. On July 1st, 2020 episode of NXT, Santana was squashed by the returning Mercedes Martinez, who no-sold her offense. Santana entered the 2021 Women's Royal Rumble at number 12. She was eliminated in 4 minutes and 31 seconds by Rhea Ripley without eliminating anyone herself. So, again, it's one where you look at it and you think, well, she didn't do a lot there, so maybe it's not surprising, but it's surprising in the sense when you look at her history beforehand, she's been quite around for a while and seems to be like a very popular hand. So, yeah, I think easily she'll just go back to the likes of TNA, Impact, or Stardom and continue doing great stuff there, to be honest.
Yeah, if anything, I really hope it's bolstered her stock and the amount of money that she get at those areas as well. I want to thank. Hold on, let me just. Wait, no, me.
Hello.
I wanna sincerely thank Satana Garrett and anyone called Garrett, because you're the only reason that I can get announcers in those games to say my name, because Americans don't say Garrod, they say Garrett like Garrett. They say Garrod. They say it the same way. So much so that all the Americans I've spoken to in my old work used to think I was actually called Garrett. But anyway, yeah, that's a little bit of a tangent. So thank you for having that name. You're a lifesaver for me. Not real. I mean, all it is just an announcer saying my name in a video game. But all right. Anyway, basically, what I'm saying is that her ring name? Is that her ring name or is that her name? Because if that's her name, I hope she signs for AEW so that I can have my name in AEW video game, please.
I think she's always used Santana Garrett wherever she's been. So maybe.
But did she go there and then WWE like copyright?
we own you now. We own this name. I think Santana Garrett's her actual name.
Good, wonderful. It's a good name.
Yeah,
GARR is a good way to start a name.
Yeah, there's nothing. Well, I'm only looking on Wikipedia, but there's nothing to indicate she's got an actual real name. This must be her real name.
Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't been put onto too many of her matches. I think now should she go somewhere else, I think I very much will.
Yep.
But it's the kind of person that I really hope this does bolster her stock. She gets to do even better contract negotiations wherever she wants, and just gets to show WWE what they're missing, and what they fucked up on.
Yeah,
that's the best revenge is like going to succeed somewhere else, and like there are multiple people like that who, I mean, Cody going somewhere else and just being the hottest thing in the world, having just some of the best matches and best emotional moments ever. That's the best payback you can do.
Yeah, I agree. I've completely forgotten my point now. It's gone.
That's all right.
It was one of those names that when I saw it, I had completely no clue who she was. I just can't remember ever seeing her much on WWE NXT TV. That was it. I mean, the thing is, like, it must be very bittersweet for her because when you look at those notes, she had multiple times trying to get there, and then she finally got there, and it's literally ended in a flash. But hopefully, it'll, like a lot of these releases, it'll just rejuvenate them and make them want to do amazing stuff elsewhere, just to kind of prove their worth. And I think she's easily a name that could do that. It seems like she's already had a pretty amazing run outside of WWE, so I don't think she's going to struggle to find work. I think she'll get snapped up by the likes of Impact again, or even, go to AEW, prove yourself there. So I think she's still got a lot ahead of her, to be honest.
Yeah, I hope so. Again, when we talk about, I think what a lot of people do get bogged down is just like, this person should have been champion, this person should have been this. I really hope and think that she probably feels very proud, and so she really should of getting into the being because what she was in at NXT at the time hadn't been too televised much, but like to be able to be picked and be like, yeah, Women's Royal Rumble, that's got to be like, yeah, like pretty a pretty good feeling. If I was picked to jump into the Women's Royal Rumble, I'd be like, why are you putting me there? That's a bit, you probably shouldn't do that. But if I was picked for the Men's Royal Rumble, and that was as far as that was like the highlight, that would still be a highlight, you know, and,
Oh, yeah.
and something I'd be very proud of. And something I would put in my resume so that people paid me more.
Has been in Royal Rumble.
WWE Royal Rumble star. Yeah.
Garrett. Well, any closing thoughts there, my friend?
If any of these people get re-signed, I hope it's because WWE are desperate, and I hope they pay them a lot of money.
Yeah, because all pretty much everyone on that list is worth money.
Yeah. The person that like shouldn't be, the person that came from no wrestling background. Well, two of them came from like barely any wrestling background, Lana and Strowman, and yet, you know, were made into these entirely different but entirely competent and brilliant characters, and then just gone. That's mad. It's crazy. That's crazy to me. Where because they rarely build their own talent anymore these days, and to then just get rid of it's just sad.
Yeah,
it's just so sad because they're so good. Everyone on this list is great.
Yeah, Vince had what he probably wants as his own homegrown monster, and he let that monster go. Either way, as we've seen recently with the likes of Andrade finally being able to now show up elsewhere, showing up in AEW, it's going to be an exciting couple of months once their no competes run out. But as you said, it's not worth the money they printed on. They could easily fight that if they wanted to. So either way, it's going to be exciting for us, the fans, to check out.
Yeah, that's why Andrade's there right now. Just as soon as he could, he's out. Andrade El Idolo, by the way, he's got a longer name. Andrade CN Almas is fucking great. What a name! Just naming him Andrade, fuck off. Just fuck off. It's crazy.
What is Vince's
unless Satana Garrett moves up and she's just called Garrett. That's fine with me. That's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine. That's the exception to the rule.
I mean, that's just Vince's madness of wanting to give people one name to remember them, like Riddle. Like, just why? Who can't remember Matt Riddle?
What is he now? Is he just Riddle? I forget.
Just Riddle, but everyone still.
I think
calls him Matt Riddle.
I think it'd be more hilarious if he was just Matt. That would be hilarious.
It would fit the Stoner character a lot more.
I suppose.
Dude, it's Matt.
All right.
I think that'll wrap it up there. So yeah, as usual, if you want to find us on any of the socials, it's the Bearhug Club Podcast on Facebook and YouTube, Bearhug Club Pod on Instagram, and Bearhug Club on Twitter. And you can also check out our website, which is bearhugpod.wixsite.com/bearhugclouds. Been doing a lot of cool stuff there and been tinkering with it a bit, so please go check there for things like matches you need to see. We're also starting our guide to wrestling. I've already put the dictionary glossary thing up on there if you want to go refresh yourself on some cool words. We won't be here next week because it's our scheduled week off, so we'll catch you in about 2 weeks' time. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.
Mwah. 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 We're releasing you. Mwah.